Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor Ipshita Bansal from BPS Women's University, Sonipat, Haryana. Today we will be discussing about the module Performance Evaluation for Strategic Advantage of the paper Strategic Human Resource Management. By the end of this module, the students will be able to understand the difference between performance management and performance evaluation, understand aims and objectives of performance evaluation, differentiate between parameters of evaluation performance for executives and workers, and understand different tools used for evaluation. Performance evaluation is an appraising an employee's current or past performance relative to the standards as set in the beginning of the year. Performance evaluation is a system of performance management system. It is a forceful system and is well executive in an organization with proper planning. Employees should be able to perceive positive benefits of performance appraisal system. It is directed towards the consideration of an employee's efforts. If the performance of the employees is not up to the mark, then corrective measures are taken to improve the performance. System needs to be assessed in relation to predetermined objectives related to the job and the situation. Employees should be given opportunities to be successful and should be judged on the criteria that are achievable. Objectives of performance evaluation are many. Knowing how well individual is performing, assessing past performance, helping in improving current performance, assessing training and development needs, assessing future potential, assisting in career planning decisions, helping and developing committed employees, providing incentives to employees for self-development, establishing channels of communication, meeting psychological needs, and providing fair and systematic criteria for promotion and transfer. Let's understand the parameters for evaluating performance of workers. The parameters are job specification and job description of the worker, job knowledge, expected quantity of work, required quality of work, punctuality and attendance, reaction to criticism, that is how an employee takes criticism, dependability and sense of responsibility, attitude towards work and co-workers, initiative and drive, potential for future growth, integrity at workplace, ability to work as a team member, time management, manners and obedience, common sense and tidiness. Then there are some of the additional measures for evaluating the performance of managers. Planning and organizing and controlling capabilities, clarity of objectives, motivating and helping people to grow, cost consciousness, interpersonal skills, intelligence and ability for decision making, leadership qualities, initiative and original thinking, communication skills, integrity, maturity, delegation skills, public relations skills, and resourcefulness. All these factors together influence as what should finally be the parameters for evaluating the performance of individuals in any industry or a given company. There are different methods and criteria that are used to evaluate the performance of employees. These criteria are different for each level as junior, middle and senior. Moreover, it depends on a particular industry or company. Systems should be developed as per the need of the organization. Although the system of evaluating performance is common in almost all organizations, but a detailed study on the basis of objectivity is required here. Various factors that are considered before finalization of a concept are organizational culture, financial status, levels in the hierarchy, and operating system criteria for evaluating the productivity, manpower planning, future aspiration plans, job designing, specification and description. All these factors together influence as to what should finally be the parameters for evaluating the performance of individuals in any industry or a given company. There are different methods and criterion that are used to evaluate the performance of employees. These criterions are different for each level as junior, middle and senior. Moreover, it depends on a particular industry or company. Systems should be developed as per the needs of the organization. Although the system of evaluating performance is common in almost all the organization, but a detailed study on the basis of objectivity is required. Various factors that are considered before finalization of a concept or organizational culture, financial status, levels in the hierarchy, and operating system criteria for evaluating the productivity, manpower planning, future aspiration plans, job designing, specification and description. Apart from the given factors, the study of other organizations become important because there cannot be a ready-made solution for each and every company. One size fits all approach does not work in all the circumstances. Thus, it is designed and implemented as per the need of an organization. In earlier times, evaluation systems were not as planned and systematic, but in today's time, organizations measure performance both in terms of quality and quantity. Thus, over a period of time, a systematic measurement system is developing where employees' characteristics and contributions are considered before giving them final ratings. Management experts conduct studies to explore a system wherein emphasis can be laid on mutual goal setting and assessment. A system is developed where the process is seen by the appraiser and the appraisee both. The idea here is to understand and appreciate human relations, behavioral aspect, trust, responsibility and capability of human beings. There are a few questions that are needed to be answered before implementing an appraisal system. These questions need answers as to what to assess, who should assess, which technique should be used, and how to communicate the results. The ultimate objective remains here is optimal utilization of available human resources for achieving organizational objectives. The basic objective of the manager here is to motivate their employees for better performance while utilizing their full potential. It was also realized that SWOT analysis, which is the understanding of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, is necessary in order to establish performance standards. Moreover, there is also a need to understand and identify the high and the low performance. In order to maintain the morale of the employees, recognition of high performance is necessary. if the manager wants their employee should perform better in the years to come, then these practices may help in achieving better results. Let's see how a transparent system can be built and what is its importance. In an organization, employees are educated and communicated clearly about the systems and processes followed in an organization. Policies are made clear to employees to avoid unnecessary compliances. There are different questions that are needed to be answered in the form of what, why, and how to the employees regularly. The appraiser should not judge performance by comparing their behavior with others, because appraisal has to be of the person's performance rather than of the person himself. It has been rightly said that success should not depend on comparison with others. The performance must be assessed in relation to the objectives decided with regard to the job and the situation. The performance standards must be clear in the minds of all the employees, and they should be given full opportunity to be successful and to be judged successfully if they are able to accomplish the task as per the specified standards. So, what are the tools and techniques of evaluating performance? There are different methods that are adopted for measuring performance. These tools are selected as per the requirement of the job or role. Some are used for the workers in a white collar jobs, whereas some are for blue collar jobs. It is to be understood clearly that same method cannot be used for assessing the performance of a clerk, a salesman, or a factory manager. The explanation for measuring performance should be justified as different techniques are suitable for different people performing different jobs. Let's now discuss about the approaches of measuring performance. First is trait-based approach. Trait-based approach focuses on general characteristics and abilities of employees. These approaches try to see certain characteristics in their employees, such as loyalty to the organization, honesty and industriousness, etc. The basic purpose here is to assess whether the employees fit with the culture of the organization or not. This approach is suitable where certain characteristics are very important for performing a job successfully. These are not the direct measures of employees' performance, thus have limited usage and value. There are some scales and tools that measure the traits of employees. Graphic rating scale. This is one of the oldest, simple and the most widely used scales by the organization. In this method, a scale is developed to measure each trait. The scale is divided usually 5 or 7 in number. Each point or category on the scale is given an adjective such as, if it is on a 5-point scale, then 5 will represent outstanding, whereas 1 may represent poor. In this rating scale, the rater is required to indicate the degree to which an employee possesses a particular trait or characteristics. Finally, the value assigned by each rater on each trait or characteristics is added to obtain an overall evaluation score for an employee. There are 2 types of factors that are generally included in these rating scales: job related factors such as quantity and quality of work, and personal characteristics. Now we discuss the force choice method of evaluation. This is an alternative method in which a rater has to choose a statement among the two descriptive types of statements. These statements are in pairs. These statements are either favorable or unfavorable. The rater selects a statement which describes the successful performance of the job, as only one statement is related to the effective job performance. Next is essay method. Here the rater is asked to write an essay or a brief narrative that describes the performance of the employee in an elaborative manner. In this method, sometimes a few questions are given that must be answered by the manager or the appraiser. The appraiser is also given guidelines and the purpose of the essay. The appraiser is also asked to describe the strengths and weaknesses of the employee as well. Appraisers or managers are asked to provide feedback to the employee and also requested to suggest improvement plans for the employee. Force distribution method. In this method, the rater is required to assign employees in a work group to a limited number of categories so as to approximate a normal frequency distribution. In this method, predetermined percentages of employees are placed in each performance category. For example, 15% employees are placed under outstanding category, 55% in average category, and rest are needs improvement category. A number of firms started using this method following General Electric, but now many companies are removing this method of forced distribution, rather adopting more innovative methods for measuring and rewarding their employees' performance. Ranking method. This is the simplest and a very old method of self-appraisal or employee appraisal. In this method, the appraiser forms groups of people for rating them performance-wise, and one person is ranked on his job performance against that of another. Another approach of performance evaluation is behavior-based approach. In this process, certain specific behaviors are examined, which the organization finds important. These behaviors can be defined as ability to get along with others, punctuality, useful as this specifies as to what the employee is doing in a day-to-day life. For example, a receptionist performance may be evaluated on the basis of how she talks with guests, whether she responds to the phone calls in 2-3 rings, whether she speaks softly, etc. In some cases, employees behave appropriately, but they do not achieve the right results. In such cases, it has to be analyzed what is more important from a role, whether it is the result or it is behavior. Accordingly, HR managers redefine the criteria as to how a performance of an employee will be evaluated. Let's discuss behaviorally anchored rating scales, that is bars. This method is a combination of traditional rating scales and critical incident method. In this method, certain number of dimensions are included that are relevant for job performance. These dimensions may include customer satisfaction, job knowledge, etc. Each bars contains 7 or 9 points. Each point on the scale is anchored in behavioral terms, in which lowest point denotes poor performance and highest point denotes excellent performance. The rater reads the behavior anchors on each scale and checks on the point that is most descriptive of the employees. Bars is a very useful tool for measuring performance, and providing developmental feedback and training needs. Let's now talk about result-based approach. In this approach, specific accomplishments and outcomes are expected from an employee after completion of a period. These measures may include number of products sold, amount of cost reduction, improvement in quality or quantity, etc. These are the easiest way of measuring the performance as they are identified easily and the relationship with the given objectives is seen. In result-based approach too, sometimes achievement of results is beyond the control of an individual. There are some external pressures that are not under the control of an employee, such as alienating co-workers, increase in raw material cost, slowdown, and sudden decrease in demand. Moreover, in result-based approach, it becomes difficult to factor in some factors such as teamwork, initiative, openness to change, which are critical aspects of overall performance. Thus, it can be inferred that all the three aspects have some advantages as well as limitation. It is therefore suggested that utilization of combination of all these three aspects can give desired results. The weightage of all the three aspects may vary as per the requirements of the role, which should be in sync with the strategic objectives of the organization. There are a number of measures available for measuring or evaluating performance, such as sales executives are evaluated used on volume of sales achieved. Workers involved in production are evaluated for the number of units produced. Employees in human resource department may be appraised on the number of positions filled in a given time. These measures directly link the performance of an employee with the results that are significant for the organization. A number of firms such as PepsiCo, HP, Whirlpool, etc. use these measures for maximization of their profits, increasing shareholder value and business performance. Management by objectives. This is a very popular concept proposed by Peter Drucker in 1954. This is a participative approach of goal setting. In this approach, the individual employee sets the goals for his or her performance in consultation with their superiors. This is the approach in which management gives flexibility to employees from a set of goals and objectives cascaded down from the strategic objectives of the organization, then to the department, then to individual manager and to the employees. There are certain conditions that are kept in mind before finalization of these goals. These goals should be challenging and realistic. In this approach, frequent reviews are conducted to assess the progress and to make modifications in the original objective if required. There should be a linkage between the objectives at each level. The objective-based performance measures are based on goal setting theory. According to Edwin and Locke, when an employee works towards a specific goal and is provided the feedback about the progress, his or her motivation is enhanced. These objectives may be set either for 6 months or for a year. The process of continuous feedback and review remains the same. Informal feedback is given on a regular basis, which helps in enhancing motivation to a higher extent than a formal feedback that happens annually. Assessment centers is also an important way of performance evaluation. In this method, A series of exercises are conducted and managers are observed by the evaluators. Assessors are requested to participate in exercises such as in-basket exercise, work group, computer simulation, role playing and other simulated activities, which require the same attribute for successful performance. These exercises are recorded and discussed after completion. The decision with regard to the performance of behavior of each employee is based on the discussion and observations. In this method, essentially, assessment centers involve multiple methods, various methods such as group exercises, intro exercises, presentations and also psychometric tools like questionnaires, occupational tests are used, and each element is designed to assess a specific competency. Multiple assessors. In this method, more than one assessor is involved. In this way, objectivity is ensured, disabling subjectivity. Multiple candidates. The number of parameters are somewhat between 10 and 12 on predefined dimensions. In this approach, each candidate participant emerges with a profile of scores and descriptions rather than an overall rating. Multiple purposes. The purpose of assessment is not single here. In this system, balanced assessment with development is derived. Competency-based approach. Under this approach, there are certain underlying characteristics that are required to complete a task successfully. These competencies are related to the knowledge, skills and abilities of an individual. Competencies are thus concerned with effect rather than effort and with output rather than input. There are some competencies that are found needed to achieve specific objectives. So let's understand it with the help of this table. On the left hand side are success factors and on the right hand side are the competencies which are required to achieve that success factor. First is builds relationships. Competencies required are communicates clearly and openly, treats others with respect, collaborate with others. Then success factor which an employee should have is applies integrative thinking. The competencies required are analyzes information, generates and pursue ideas, develops and shapes strategies, identifies and solves problems, applies integrated decision making. The success factor is drives forward results. For this, competencies required are the employee should organize and manage multiple tasks, directs and coordinates work, gets the job done, and focuses on strategic priorities. Success factor is leading in a learning environment, and the competencies required are he recruits talent, motivates and develops people, builds and leads teams. Success factor is takes personal ownership. The competencies required are takes responsibility, learns continuously, embraces change, initiates opportunities for improvements, shows integrity, maintains perspective. Let's now summarize what we have learned in this module. Most of the organizations have a system of evaluating employee performance in a formal manner. The purpose of performance evaluation is to ensure that employees are performing to achieve organization's objectives. In this module, both traditional and recent approaches of evaluating employee performance were discussed in detail. The module started with defining performance evaluation in brief and discussed why there is a need of formal evaluation system in an organization. How an organization gets benefited when it is having a formal evaluation system. Different approaches of measuring performance were also discussed, further including the tools and techniques used in measuring performance were discussed later. There are different approaches of measuring performance, though there are certain limitations too associated with each approach. Trait-based approach tries to see the culture fitment, which is very important when we hire a person for a job. However, this approach has limited usage or value if we want to see the performance of the employee. Behavior-based approach is perfect for the roles and job where direct customer interaction and focus is involved. This approach, however, has limited value when we have to identify individuals based on high, medium or low performance. Competency-based performance appraisal system assesses performance on what people should be able to do rather than how one should behave while doing so. They are about stripping jobs down into their component parts and linking together the two basic elements of performance, such as what has to be done and to what standard. Thus, in a nutshell, this is a comprehensive view of how an employee's performance is measured in an organization and how it is important to have a transparent system for evaluation of the performance of employees. Thank you.